law is for my people. So I'm also, as mentioned, the international president of the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the organization and my approach to my presidency, this particular administration, and then we'll go into our topic, which is cross-organizations, coalition building for change. I've amended the topic since reflecting today, and it's going to be more on from the perspective of from survival to sustainability to sovereignty. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated is a federation. It's a government. And we were founded by imperial charter by His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, conquering lion of the tribe of Judah. And he's founded the organization from observing a lot of what brought us here today. When he traveled from Ethiopia, which for the most part, Ethiopia had existed in isolation, absent attacks by the Roman Empire, the Vatican, Italy, Mussolini. But they were able to survive because of the isolation. When he traveled the world, and his father before him, they saw the conditions of Black people in the diaspora. So imagine being raised at the top of society as the elite of your country, being treated like royalty, and then seeing people who look like you treated as if they were enslaved, treated as if they were subhuman. And he took it upon himself to make change not only in Ethiopia, which would have given him a certain amount of safety, but he took it upon himself to say, that's not acceptable for the Black people of the world. So he founded the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated. And his gift to us is our Constitution. It is now my honor this year, as of July, to serve as the international president for the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated. This responsibility is great. It is not a paying job, but it gives me a lot of rewards, such as being able to share space with you in this room, being able to participate in think tanks where we can evaluate the condition of our people and drive change. So Ethiopia has survived the attacks from Italy and other global imperialists, and it stands as the only unconquered, oldest Judeo-Christian state in the world. The oldest biblical texts are found in Ethiopia. The birthplace of civilization is Ethiopia. So I'm going to read some of His Imperial Majesty's words, because not only was he the great emperor, longest-serving emperor of Ethiopia, he was behind the forming of the OAU, uniting African countries. He was a friend to Nkrumah, and they dreamed together of a united Africa. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm adjusting the topic so that it's from surviving to sustainability to sovereignty. And the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated, we are sovereign through the sovereignty of Ethiopia. And all of our members have an identity and citizenship with Ethiopia that was granted through His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I. So I just wanted to set the scene before we got into the topic. This is going to be interactive, and I have a little bit of activity built in. But thank you for your attention. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for being here. So the first quote I'm going to read is from May 7th, 1965. And in this particular writing, he's talking about modern Ethiopianism. And it may have already come up in our discussions today, but the name Africa is a name that was given to our continent. The continent was originally Ethiopia. So just think that what is being said in 1965 about Ethiopia applies to the African condition today. And he says, through the struggle of her people, Ethiopia has survived, and this survival has afforded her the opportunity to bring the weight of her experience to the efforts deployed by the international community in building a world of peace, progress, and human understanding. So when we talk about surviving, there's always a purpose for survival. There's always an after for survival, because there's a reason why you weren't taken. There's a reason why you didn't give up. There's a reason why you're still here existing. It's to commit to your purpose. Later on, he goes to talk about those of us who need to know ourselves should read the message of St. Paul in Corinthians chapter 4, verses 1 to 6. And I found this unusual because His Imperial Majesty doesn't usually use scriptural references. But this scripture is specific to knowing oneself. And I'm going to read that to you. I actually saved it on my phone because I knew we wouldn't. Huh? It's in 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 1 to 6. So I'm going to read, I have a screenshot of it. And so I'll just read 1 through 4, really. Let a man so consider us as servants of Christ and stewards of the mysteries of God. Moreover, it is required in stewards that one be found faithful. But with me, it is a very small thing that I should be judged by you or a human court. In fact, I do not even judge myself. For I know nothing against myself, yet I am not justified this, but he who judges me is the Lord. So I'll stop there. And this is about being stewards of the mysteries of God. And there's nothing that reflects the mysteries of God more than agriculture and growing and being one with the soil and being one with the earth. So we as agriculturalists, even in biblical terms, are stewards of the mysteries of God. And as stewards of the mysteries of God, through our work, we are going to take our people from surviving on substandard food, surviving on high caloric intake, surviving on eating things that are not healthy, eating animals that have cancer. We're going to take them from survival, from eating fake foods, into sustainability with good nutrition. And with that sustainability for the people that we love and care for as our community, we're going to create economic development and growth in the African community as well. So we are stewards of the mystery of God, and we are also those that will usher in this next era of not only healthy eating, but economic growth and development. Going back to our topic of coalition building. Coalition building. There are many organizations that are represented here. But it's really important, as he stated just now, those of us who need to know ourselves should read the messages of St. Paul. So the first step in building this bridge between surviving to sustainability, to sovereignty, to build, to form coalitions, is to know thyself. As individuals, as leaders, and as organizations. So before you assert that you're going to work with another organization or work as a collective, you have to understand what you stand for. What you stand for, what you're bringing to the community in the conversations, what are the boundaries that you will not cross, although others will cross those same boundaries. So the first part is about knowing thyself. As the international president of the Ethiopian World Federation, for this year, what's been given to me as my focus, I call it the 7 R's, okay? And I'll tell you the 7 R's, but I've also developed 7 C's for this conversation. The 7 R's are, 1, making sure that we are recruiting and we are presenting ourselves in a way that others will want to join us. And my question to you is, as agriculturalists, do we make agriculture appealing? Are we recruiting more healthy-minded people to join us so that we can strengthen this mission? Reclamation. Reclamation is the second one for the Ethiopian World Federation, but it also applies to the work we're doing. Do we need to reclaim those students that went through agricultural programs, but they're working as phone operators, they're working in other industries, but they have the knowledge that we need, they just couldn't find jobs? How do we reclaim those people so that we can strengthen our mission? How do we reclaim the land that we've lost? There's land loss in our community. As our aging farmers are passing on, their land is being sold, but not sold back into community. Is that a campaign? Is that a campaign for us to make sure that the elders know that we have a list of people ready to buy their land so black land stays in black community? Okay? Reclamation. Reparations. We have been harmed. We have been harmed strategically. We have been harmed systematically. We are due reparations. There are some amongst us that their job is just to look for opportunities for us to claim reclamations for our farming community, for our black community, so that we can multiply that to create the world we want to see. Repatriation. You have all taken the first step if you're not from here originally, or I should say you are all from here originally, but if you were did not take your first breath on African soil, you've taken the first step towards repatriation. Restoration. We need to restore our hearts and minds and believe again. Too often we take that first no. Too often we tell people that their dreams are too big. We need to restore our faith in ourselves, because the faith in ourselves is a faith in God, because we are God. He is us. He just said, I am. So we need to restore that faith in the I can, and don't take no for an answer. Okay? Reformation. There are laws that need to be changed, but we also need to reform ourselves in how we treat each other. We need to treat each other with respect. We need to be cognizant of our own behaviors, whether they're triggered from wounds or trauma, and correct. Just because you are one way today does not mean you have to be the same way tomorrow. Let's reform ourselves. And the final R has to do with relief from financial stressors and financial insufficiency. We all deserve to be profitable. It is not a sin or against God to be wealthy. We are done with the period of scarcity, and we are walking together in the period of abundance. We were born equipped. We already have everything that we need. We just need to decide and remember ourselves. So those are the 7 R's with regards to my work as the international president of the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated. But I felt that as a community on this topic of coalition building that we deserve our 7 C's. So that's the work we're going to do today. The first C is collective responsibility. We are responsible for each other. We are responsible for ourselves, but we are responsible for each other. We talk about fixing each other's crowns. Come to each other's aid. Allow some vulnerability where you can let others know what you need. Times get hard, but you're not alone. We walk in the spirit of collective responsibility. Collaboration. And then after I talk about collaboration, I'm going to read just a bit and then we'll have an activity. Collaboration is the key. They say they're collaborating, not competing at the top. We are collaborating and not competing at the top. The ancients knew this. Our elders knew this. Why so quick or believing? Why is that one annoyance enough to break a formidable grouping or coupling? Collaborating is where we need to be. And I'm just going to read a few more words from His Imperial Majesty. Today more than ever, before a man realizes the bond of unity that exists within the race, he is endeavoring to employ the accumulated knowledge and wisdom of the ages. He is employing modern science and technology. He is reaping the benefits, however limited, of political and economic unity. And to that extent, he is transcending the age-old barriers that have divided the race so long, and is endeavoring to reflect on the welfare not only of himself and his immediate neighbor, but also on the welfare of all the human race. This endeavor is in harmony with the spirit of the mystics of ages gone by. In the mystic traditions of the different religions, we have a remarkable unity of the spirit. We have a remarkable unity of the spirit that will carry us from surviving to sustainability to sovereignty. So as we look at being here with the intention of collaborating, the work does not end here. I am just going to prepare you. We are going to harm each other. We are going to make missteps. We're going to make mistakes. But we have to focus on the unity. We have to remember that although we're not at the top, they're collaborating at the top. So whatever we need to mend fences, mend relationships, we need to do it so that we can get to the top and collaborate and make things happen. So I'm going to pause there, and then I'm going to give an individual activity which will take, we'll do 5 minutes. And for your entity or organization that you came here representing, think of 5 legislative priorities. Legislative or regulatory priorities that you have that would make your mission more successful. In whatever jurisdiction you live in, 5 things that government could change so that your work will be easier and we would get more closer to economic sovereignty as a people. All right, so I'm going to give you 5 minutes, and then we're going to come back together and share some of those things at 5:20. Thank you. All right, sounds like I will just go a minute early. Everyone's finished. How did it feel to put on paper what you want? Great. Had you done that already? Some yes, some no. Okay. Did you find yourself saying, that's not going to pass, or not in this administration, or not in this political climate? When you doubt yourself in that way, put it on there anyways. Because you never know, because we are stewards of the mysteries of God. That's how we walk through life. As stewards of the mysteries of God. Agriculturalists. We make things grow. We create life. So, what is a fact to others is not truth to us. What is a fact to others is not truth to us. Put it on there anyways. Now we're going to get into groups of 3, and we're going to see is there a way that I can take 2 of your issues and you take 2 of my issues, or 3? Can we agree on some that I'll take when I go into that office and you will take some of mine? Because if we do that in just groups of 3, then we can meet with 3 senators at the same time and move all of our agendas forward. If we do it in groups of 5, then we are taking 5 organizations into the room, and we can meet with 5 senators at the same time, right? So I'm going to ask that you get in groups of 3 and compare your list and see if there are any that you can all take forward. And we'll see what happens. I'll give you 5 minutes again. 5:26. If everyone's done early, then we'll come back early. So get in groups of 3 people and discuss what your list look like. Two minutes unless you need more time. 2 minutes unless you need more time. All right, I'll give you 1 minute to wrap up. 1 minute to wrap up. All right, let's bring it back in. Let's bring it back in. All right, are we ready to start over? All right, let's get started. 1 more minute. 1 more minute, please. Yes, you're welcome. No problem. 1 more minute. All right, time. See how much we love each other? See how brilliant we are? See how we know how to set quick norms and respect each other in dialogue? We have everything we need. Are there any volunteers who want to talk about what that experience was like? I told you, I promised you 7 C's. We covered the first 2. What you just did was collective responsibility. We took responsibility for what's important to each other. So what if we're in different jurisdictions and I take a couple years? Then we have helped the farmers in another jurisdiction get something that makes sense for them. And they may not have even known that they needed it or how to do it. But by taking on each other's issues and concerns, we take collective responsibility. That's a step towards progress. Collaboration. We just demonstrated how we collaborate as a community. We know how to get along. We know how to move things forward. Sometimes you just have to remember. Okay? Any volunteers? Yes, please.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Dr. K. So, I think we did really well, especially with the collaboration piece, trying to figure out where our, initiatives converge. So, for example, we all talked about land access for farmers. So, for example, I mentioned like a land redistribution program. We also talked about supporting supporting farmers' livelihoods, whether that's processing facilities or giving free farm equipment to farmers, or supporting their agribusiness. And then another thing that we tried to find some type of parallel was with budgets and services. So two of us, we talked about student loan forgiveness, how that would definitely help.
Excellent.
And then our other members spoke about just the government increasing services in general. So yeah, thank you.
Fantastic work, excellent work. Round of applause. Did any of you hear something that you're like, I'm kind of ear hustling, but I'm going to add that to my list? Yeah? Don't be afraid. Add it to your list. You never know how you can impact what happens in the future. Thank you so much. Any other volunteers? Yes, please, Stephanie.
Two of my group members, my name's Stephanie. Hi. Two of my group members whose words resonated with me. Tay from National Black Food Justice Alliance, and where did you get your name? Abdullah from Ghana Food Movements.
Okay.
So Abdullah talked about the expensive housing in Accra and people having to commute from very far away to come to work. And he also talked about the lack of public spaces in Accra. And then Tay mentioned something about Anti-Displacement Act that I think he said was passed in Kentucky, and also talking about preserving corridors of land for the Gullah Geechee states in the United States. And so the things that brought to my mind was gentrification and how, as Americans that come here and repatriate, how can we contribute to the development of affordable housing in Accra, and how can we contribute to the development of public spaces for the youth in Accra. And then also back home, how can we take some of what we learn to help those legislative priorities of figuring out how to create anti-displacement in our own communities when we're getting pushed out of those, and protecting corridors that were historically Black and keeping elders in their homes.
Fantastic, fantastic work. So how many of you, for our next visit in Ghana, if we happen to be there during their parliamentary time period, would be willing to knock on doors so we can help those farmers in Accra? Very feasible. We just add a day to our trip. That's it. It's the same airfare. It's just one night's hotel contribution to what's important to this community here in Accra. And us coming together as a community, as a world community, saying these farmers are important. These farmers are important to food sovereignty. Thank you so much. Any other volunteers? If not, we'll move on. All right. Well, thank you for those who felt comfortable enough sharing. Moving on, we talked about collective responsibility. We spoke about collaboration. Next is competition. I already told you we're not competing against each other. But we do have competition. And we need to do competitive analysis and understand what they're in rooms like this. It may not be here, or it may be here in Ghana. It may be here in Ghana that they are having these type of conversations about food and boxing us out and throwing bows. We need to understand what their priorities are. We need to know in advance what their priorities are. And that doesn't mean that we make our priorities the reaction to their priorities. We already have our priorities. However, we are going to have to play defense. Okay? So competition is the third C, doing that competitive analysis and understand what your threats are. From that, you can come up with creative solutions. Creative solutions. You have your collaborators. Plan time for brainstorming. Create spaces for discussion on issues. There's a lot of brain power in this room. Don't let it end tomorrow. We have to keep this conversation continuing. I know the Black Sustainability Summit, they have a membership of sorts. Join as a member, create subgroups, keep these conversations going. The next topic I want to discuss, the fourth C is crisis response, or fifth C is crisis response. We do not have a crisis response strategy. We are desensitized to crisis in our community. What is our bat signal? How do we call for help? When you hear bad news all day, it's just more bad news, isn't it? We need to develop a crisis response because not all bad news is the same. And we need to figure out how to escalate particular issues and how to call for help when we need it. So that's not something we're going to solve today, but at least we're on the same page that this is very important. Civil rights in the United States, civil rights heroes that we look up to, they had escalation procedures. They had a bat signal strategy, and they didn't have the technology we have now. They were able to say, we're galvanizing in this city. People are driving in the middle of the night to get there. People who are there preparing food for when the help comes. We need to develop a strategy around crisis response globally for issues that affect Black people, for issues that affect access to food for Black people immediately. Immediately. So that's a task for us to continue on another day. I just wanted you to be aware. Yes, please.
What would you consider one of those crises? One that, I mean, you know, as a community,
Mm-hmm.
in the, say, the loss of life, you know, we come to the
Yeah.
side of our loved ones to mourn and to support and whatever. But
Mhm.
what would you label a crisis?
Yeah, I would say even in an area, long-term soil degradation might be a crisis that we need to get all hands on deck. How can we resolve this? How do we read the profile on it? How do we get legislation for protection? Even a water situation, the same thing. A patent that becomes where a patent on seeds that we'll no longer be able to utilize for food unless we pay a certain company that may make it GMO. So we'll never have a pure version of that seed again. That's a crisis, I would say, for this community. Yes. Yes, sister. Sister Aisha.
I would say that the crisis is now.
And maybe introduce yourself because you haven't today, I don't believe.
That's the strategy. Yes, that's a good strategy. But back to the crisis, right? The crisis is now. Everything that was mentioned, the war is occurring. And I think now is the time when we need to come, and we are coming together. And therefore, we really need to come with a crisis response, you know? And that's something we have to take. Each one of us will, in each of our communities, there are things like that that are threatening our food, or our health, our soil, or everything, our lives. So just think that way, and that is the sheriff, that's what I'm saying. That's really.
A big one in Ghana, I don't know how many of you know Galamsey. Galamsey is a huge crisis that's eating this country inside out. I don't have any solution myself, but I know there's many of us who know about the Galamsey issue here, and we need to do something about it right now. Right now. So that's something that's happening in Ghana. I would say all of you should read up on it if you don't know. There's a lot of information online.
So, go ahead. The gold mining as well, the minerals access. So, thank you. So I'm hearing right now that we already have crises that other people in the room didn't know about. We need to figure out a bat signal, whether it's a WhatsApp signal group, maybe it's a code that we use. We need to start talking in codes. We may need to unify around a language as we go forward. Maybe it's, Tree or, Ewe, or maybe it's Swahili, or maybe it's Amharic. But we need to figure out long term, and this may be over a generation, a unified language so we can speak in some type of code so that we can elevate these types of issues or identify codes for crisis situations. The next one is conflict resolution. I was talking, I think I was talking to Ross Bobby, but it could be someone else. And we were discussing the, boy band, girl group epidemic where you get close to the top. And that's when the band breaks. It could have been Ross Posse too, but that's when the band breaks up, right? We have too many of those situations in our community, and other people are running away to the bank because of it. So we need to figure out how to resolve these conflicts and how to not start conflicts and how to be just reasonable with each other and kinder to each other. It's just important. It's a non-negotiable at this point. Yes, please.
I'm missing a couple C's, sorry. It's collective responsibility.
Collaboration, competition, creative solutions, crisis response. Now we're at conflict resolution.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you for asking, because I want you to walk away. And this is just the beginning of an exercise in a development, and continue to have conversations about this. Yeah, conflict resolution is key for us right now. We're not good at it, but we can get great at it. And other people are counting and betting against us because we don't know how to resolve conflict yet.
I think it's interesting that you say this, because recently I've Sister B.
Hi, Sister
We
B.
grow food from the Virgin Islands. I
Yes.
think it's interesting that you mentioned this, because recently I've taken note of ways, and I'm a part of a lot of civil activism at home, that we can avoid conflicts. And that's often identifying the fuel carrier. And I'll explain that. We have among us at times, and sometimes not sitting in the room, but outside, of those who throw fuel on the fire
Yes.
and watch it burn.
Yes.
Between you and the persons who are supposed to be working together. So it's interesting you say this, because now I've started taking a more serious look at those that are causing the fires, those
Yes.
that are throwing the fuels on the fires, and gaining from our destruction, you know?
Yes, thank you so much. And another view on that is there are some people that only understand bad news and destruction, and they get uncomfortable when things are going too well. They can't help themselves. So we have to help them get past that, because they haven't been here before. You know, where you have kids, you're like, I can't take you anywhere. There's some people, they've never been taken to the promised land. They've never been taken to success. So when they're around something that seems like it's going well, they're like, why she talk so much? Or what, it's just something that happens. But we can be conscious of it. Sometimes an elders council is helpful for resolving conflicts, like getting the elders together, giving them new purpose, and making sure that we don't crash and burn. So that's one way to approach it. And there are many others that we can think of. In the cannabis industry, in black cannabis, I came up with a concept. There's a cartoon called the Backyardigans.
Yes.
So I started like a secret society called the Frontyardigans. So like the people who would, like old people who would sit on the stoops like in New York and just watch everything and everything that's going on. But it was like a secret society within cannabis called the Frontyardigans, only a few members. And what we would do is when we heard these like rumor-filled conflicts, we would see if there's a way we could resolve by like, listen, I know you have an issue with her. Why don't I take a train to Philly, meet with you guys at a pizza shop, and we talk through it? Like things like that, so it's not always on blast, these issues, because you'll see people going back and forth on social media like, we're the same people, and they're making money while we're doing this, right? And then it gets ugly sometimes, but that's what I thought was a solution, and we were helpful in resolving like a few conflicts where it was just like, let's just get on the phone. I'm not in this conflict, I heard about it, and we need to get it resolved so we can make money and we can do what we're supposed to do. So you can do things like that to resolve conflict. The final C is about having the championship mindset. We are going to win, win, win no matter what. It is our portion. It is our inheritance. We are victorious. We just have to lean in. So if we make a list together of legislative priorities and I'm able to get your priority passed, but you're not able to get my priority passed, I'm still celebrating.
That's right. Yes. That's right.
I'm happy for you. That's the championship mindset. We celebrate every win. We don't say, oh, but we really wanted this and we didn't get it. In legislative work, there are many bites to the apple. You just have to be focused and come back the next time, but don't come back with, I'm just going back to get what I didn't get last year. No, you are creating a brand new strategy that includes what you didn't get last year, but also evaluates your competitive analysis to see what the other side is doing, and then looking at the current landscape, is there something else you need to ask for? So we need to have that championship winning, positive mindset, because this is our inheritance. We truly are the stewards of the mysteries of God through agriculture. And we need to believe it. We need to achieve it. We need to lean into it. We need to support each other through it. We need to brainwash ourselves that that's our destiny. And then it will happen. So those are the 7 C's. And that's how we get from survival to sustainability through collaborative work and coalition building to sovereignty, where we have economic sovereignty, independence, and freedom. God bless you. Through what God has given us naturally. All right, any questions? Yes, Sister Aisha. God bless you.
So I'm Sister Aisha. I'm from the Virgin Islands. I represent the Virgin Islands Women in Agriculture and Peace International LLC. I was a former Assistant Commissioner Agriculture in the Virgin Islands, and I quickly realized that it doesn't seem as though the system has an intent to provide the support we need to be successful in agriculture development and food sovereignty. That's my perception. Myself, I don't have a lifetime. I made 6 years of diligent efforts, but when you analyze the system, you would see they may have laws on the books relative to support agriculture without funding. They pass legislation, but legislation becomes nothing without funding. And I wonder if you can speak about collectively how we can use the existing resources we have, because a lot of times we're looking for more resources to do this thing. But when you look at what we have in place, when we come together, we can maximize the existing resources too. And sometimes we don't do that. There are farmers out there who have land that they are not maximizing their yields because they lack certain inputs or skills. And sometimes it's just a labor force. Sometimes they just need, because I was thinking like when we come to Ghana the next time, we can just form a group and go to a farm and provide support. There was an old farmer I spoke to who came with the group from the village, and he was talking about he doesn't have the help he needs to grow food because the students, the children are really bright and they're all going to Accra or they're going to get higher studies or things like that. But he needs physical help on his farm because all our farmers are aging. So again, I think the real solution is us working together, identifying resources we have available, capitalizing on those resources and generating revenue to do more. And then if we can also do the legislative piece and get their support, that's additional. But from what I've seen, I think our true strength will come from what we can organize together and get done, and we can do so much, So can you speak to that a little bit, please?
Yeah, I think you've done an amazing job, Sister Aisha. Clap it up to Sister Aisha. Again, she's gained access. Those of us who gain access, whether it's through education or who you know or whatever, we have a responsibility to be the Robin Hoods of our race. And what she did is explain a Robin Hood moment of sometimes the resources are there. I know as the Deputy Commissioner of Agriculture, or former Deputy Commissioner of Agriculture, as she said, I know that there are resources available. I was the Director of Federal Affairs for the Florida Department of Agriculture. That's how I know there are BMPs, which I mentioned when we were doing our brainstorming. They're best management practice manuals that exist for Florida crops, like citrus, like things like that. Why can't we do that for our crops? So we have a responsibility, once we gain access, to be the Robin Hoods and bring that knowledge back to the broader community. And that's our responsibility. With regards to working together and going on farms and helping each other, how do you think we have Akasi? Bingi Sean has been really transparent about that. Ras Kwasi has been transparent about that Kasi is a result of community coming together and wanting it and seeing it, having a common vision that benefits everybody. So did you take the, who has the microphone or who? Oh, excellent. Awesome. Black food sovereignty.
Give thanks. Give
Rasola.
thanks. Give thanks.
Yeah.
What my sister was saying, this T-shirt, Afuye, 2007. Now this program is in Toronto,
Yes, sir.
and we were communicating with Ghana from that time, just taking the name Twi, Afuye, from the Twi language that speaks to farming. This was our youth program. If we don't deal with youths, we don't have anything.
Yes.
Youth is always our future. And if you look around this room, ain't got no youths in it. We gotta be intentional of making sure the youths come. If we gotta pay for them to get accommodation, to travel, so they could come. Because if we've been building them, Sister, and if you tell them, you know what I mean? Even the youths in this community, we supposed to develop diamonds as young people, the stars in food sovereignty in this community. Let them know they could come here, develop farms for them around here, so they could farm and they ain't gotta leave this village. They could have a business right here. As you said, they need to go to Accra. Now there's a lot of young youth programs that we could introduce. Like I look around Ghana and I see the many things they could do. You know, it's what's to bring that technology, that innovation, how we could engage youths economically, environmentally.
Youth engagement's very important.
You know?
Russ Boba Selassie, when I was walking over, he left the last presentation. He said, "Oh my God, I saw my community. There are pictures of my community and my farms from a few years ago, and that sense of pride. Help the youth restore that pride in their communities, that pride in agriculture, in creating life. It's not just farming. It's creating life. It's giving birth to things. It's science. It's mathematics. It's all the
You
things.
see, like
So-
our matter is cultivating leadership.
Yes.
We want young leaders. They ain't gotta really be farmers, but they gotta be leaders in whatever area.
Yes.
But food sovereignty and the young people, we gotta go to them intentionally. Like I glad to see my brother here doing some great work with young people,
Yeah.
engaging in Ghana in the culinary industry.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Food sovereignty is such a broad area of work. They could get
It is.
work in many different areas, not just culinary, not just agriculture. Because
Yeah.
sometimes we talk about food sovereignty, we just talk about agriculture. It's not just agriculture, it's everything to do with food. You could be an academic, you could be a researcher,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? You could be a writer,
Yes.
you could be a blogger, you could be a social media person. We just want a bit of everything.
I love it. So this session is really about change making and fixing ourselves. But yes, the youth need to be engaged. But we're the role models. So if we don't
Definitely.
invest the time into repairing what we know is wrong as leadership, as their role models, then we're just going to bring them into chaos and confusion and teach them our bad habits. So this is really about, utilizing these 7 C's so that we can repair ourselves, be our best selves, and be stewards of the mysteries of God through agriculture. There was a hand here in the front, and then I'm going to close because I think there's a lot to think about. I would also, just the last thing on Sister Aisha, make a 10-minute appointment to meet with her and find out, did you know anything about the Department of Agriculture with regards to these topics that are important to me? What can you tell me? What arsenal can you give me so that I can be better equipped to go into these legislative meetings? She's here. She's going to be here tomorrow. She has an inside track on departments of agriculture, at least in the United States. Make a 10-minute appointment with her tomorrow and then speak to her about what your priorities are. She may have some guidance or know things that are already built that you can use as an example and say, in Virgin Islands, in Vermont, in Kentucky, they did this successfully and they put this law in place. Why can't we do it here? Okay?
I think it all goes back to where you started when you say, how do we make agriculture appealing?
Yes.
It's more than just what we want them to do or what we teach them to do, but how do we make it appeal to them? Our youth today are exposed to so much greater and different than we were in our days. And it's how to incorporate that into the field of agriculture. Even technology, for example, encouraging technology that would promote irrigation systems that automatically come together, which is plumbing, electrical service. All of those things are part of agriculture. And if we were to not necessarily look at our youth as labor forces, but creative thinkers and innovative, positions, we would I think that would be a better and more successful approach to the appeal for the youth,
I think that's a great point, and I think it ties into marketing, which Ross Kwasi is really an expert on. How do we market ourselves I don't need this, I don't think. How do we market ourselves as agriculturalists to make it attractive? I have a t-shirt that says vegans taste better. Wear the shirt, but it starts the conversation. It's like makes veganism a little sexy, but it also starts the conversation starter about it. When I used to wear on my son, I said, well, vegans taste better to dinosaurs. You know what I mean? But those are the types of things that we need to be creative and use our marketing experts in the room to really figure out what are the campaigns that we need to run as agriculturalists to make change happen, but to recruit the people that we want and to make a clear statement on who we are. Ross Kwasi, do you have anything to say on that? Let him have the microphone, please.
Thank you. First of all, welcome everyone. I'm very passionate about content creation. I think this is where we drop the ball a lot of time as the Pan-African / conscious community, is that we underestimate the level of programming that is out there. The same young people that we target, we talk about them, but then we don't create any content for them. And we give them devices that is filled with content targeted directly toward them. So I think that as a conscious community, and my farmers are involved, we become too aloof in terms of dealing with young people and meeting them where they are. So, right now, short form content is very popular with young people. Yes. Reels, YouTube, Reels, Instagram Shorts. Every platform has a short form. As farmers, as people dealing with the food sovereignty movement, we need to be creating short form content. We need to be creating long form content. We need to be creating animation, animated films, anime, all of these things around what our young people are consuming, but that carries our message, because every other community is doing it for their young people in forms. Does everyone here know that Chinese TikTok is different than US TikTok? Why is that? Because they understand the power of the medium. On Chinese TikTok, you can't find a dance. You're going to see people doing engineering.
Right.
They have people doing complex mathematical equations. That's how China TikTok is engineered. So their young people, when they're scrolling, they're getting stimulated on STEM. Our young people, it's all entertainment and things that, yes, it passes the time, but we're not preparing them for the battlefield that is currently at play. So I'm very long-winded. This is not my talk.
No, but
so I'm going to give it forward
talk.
to my good sister. One of the things that we're doing, if I can just end with this, as a Rastafari community, we're creating an ITAL certification standard, which would be similar to a halal or kosher standard. And as part of the rollout, we've been having preliminary discussions recognizing the fact that we have to create a marketing campaign. So one of our working groups is going to be dealing with marketing and how we actually target young people, how we target young adults, and we ignore young adults in the Pan-African community. They can't talk. And when I say young adult, I'm talking 20 to 40. We ignore these people. You know what I mean? 40 to 60 are mature adults. They are underutilized. In our community, we have youth and we have elders, and that's it. So we have to change that paradigm so we can get production out of our young adults, which is our most productive part. That's our warrior class. We need to get them active and carrying the message. And our young people, again, we have to create content, music, arts. You know, we're trained to discredit the creative industry. That's something over there, and those creatives. You know what I mean? You get a real job, but we don't understand the creative industry impacts the reality of a society. Any culture that wants to preserve their culture will invest in the creative industry. Final point. Just indulge me one second.
No, you're good. You're doing well.
You give me a microphone, these things will happen. So
That was
I
the plan
apologize.
as a steward of the mysteries of God.
You see, she is a steward. She knew she was setting me up. But how many people know the story of K-pop in Korea?
Yep.
K-pop is one of the most popular forms of music, but one of the reasons it's so popular is because it's actually subsidized by the South Korean government. They put a certain percentage of their GDP because they saw their young people chasing these white boy bands, and they realized that if they don't intercede, then their culture be gone. You know, you have surgeries where people are whitening their eyes to look like Europeans. They're bleaching their skin. All of these things were happening in South Korea. So South Korea invested, these South Korean boy bands, they are actually handpicked. So they did all of the analytics, the research of what a boy band looks like, the rebel, the this, the that, the long hair man with the bangs over, and they recruited all of these people in a Korean form.
Right.
And they've subsidized them, helped them with marketing and pushed it out. Now, K-pop, you have millions of young white girls singing in Korean. This is a reality. We may not know it, but they sing in Korean. They don't translate the songs to English.
Right.
These South Korean bands are singing big hit songs in their own language, their own culture, and European young people all across America and Europe are singing it. But the South Korean government understood the power of the creative industry, of preserving their culture, preserving their identity. They used what the children were consuming already, and they worked with it to morph it into something that was palatable. As agriculturists, as Pan-Africanists, we have to do the same thing. Instead of fighting against what our children are doing, meet them where they are and create wholesome content that will feed their soul and create the future that we want to see. For these few words, I do give thanks. Give thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much. So we had wisdom from Rasola on food sovereignty. If you weren't with us over the food sovereignty portion and you want to get insights on what worked in Toronto, where the actual city is funding a food sovereignty conference, talk to Rasola. You know, you're going to talk to Sister Aisha about, hey, what are the ins and outs of departments of agriculture? And then you're going to talk to Ras Kwasi about how do we market and attract the youth and package it in a way that makes it attractive. So we have all we need. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I hope this was helpful. Yeah? All right. Blessings. Give thanks. Give thanks. Blessed love. Thank you so much. And I don't know who's next on the agenda, but I just remember you're stewards of the mysteries of God through agriculture. Give thanks. From survival to sustainability to sovereignty. That's where we're headed. Give thanks. Blessed love.